Some thieves were robbing a convenience store that I was in, and I was in the worst place at the wrong time, and they told me to hand them my wallet, and then I heard a gun go off somewhere, and then everything went black. I was actually reaching for my gun that I kept in my back pocket. I knew how bad the neighborhood was I was living in, and I always carried a gun on me when I went out to the store or whatever because I knew better. For many years I had to live in a bad neighborhood, Los Angeles, Compton. I was one of the very few white kids there, and then I thought about Batman and how I always loved that character and how I always wanted to be him, and then right when I thought about that, something magical happened and I was magically teleported across time and space against an ocean of stars, and it was then that I saw the life of Superman, and then I saw the life of the strongest human. I saw Saitama, and then I saw the life of Satoru Gojo, and then I saw the life of Son Goku, and in an instant all their powers transferred to me because their life was done but was just beginning again, and then I became Bruce Wayne, and I was reborn as Bruce Wayne, the boy that would one day become the Batman. But I wasn't just the Batman, for now I am the most powerful Batman that has ever been because I have the powers of Superman, Satoru Gojo, Son Goku, and Saitama. I was reborn, the strongest and the darkest knight, and I don't believe in a no-kill rule. I'm not a weak coward like Batman was, so one day if I ever meet the Joker I'm going to destroy him and take Harley Quinn for myself. And I was reborn as the Ben Affleck version of the DC Universe Batman, and I even have all the powers and combat knowledge and experience of Son Goku. I could sense everything in the universe with my Ultra Instinct powers. I could sense all the gods, even Diana, and I smiled as I thought soon we will meet Diana and I will love you like none other. I could see it all with my limitless powers. I rarely ever showed the world my true color of my blue eyes, and I didn't have to cover them up like Gojo either. No, when I activated my limitless powers, then they turned blue. I was born with a super brain, so I prepared for everything. I was not going to let my parents die in that alley. If I could find a way to stop it, I will. And I was brought into this world screaming and covered in blood, and if I have to leave the same way I came in, so be it. And I told my dad that he needs to keep a gun on him all the time because his life will always be in danger. So one day I decided to steal a gun, more like a few guns, and I stuck them in Thomas Wayne's trench coat on the day he was supposed to be gunned down by that thief. So on the day my parents were supposed to be killed by that wretched thief, I slipped a gun in my father's pockets before he could be robbed, and I made sure there was plenty of bullets in those guns too. And then when the thief said, "Hand over your money," Thomas Wayne said, "I'm getting the money out of my pocket, just a second." And then he whispered to Martha, "Give him your jewelry." And then he whispered, "I have a gun, give him whatever he wants." And then they gave him everything, even their wedding rings. And then when the thief turned his back to run, Thomas took out two guns and he shot the man more than a few times in the head and in the back. And then I secretly got rid of the body without my parents noticing right after they took back all the items that were stolen from them, and that's how I saved my parents. Instead, they didn't die in that alley. Instead, my father decided to take justice in his own hands. He became the first Batman, and then in the future I would carry on his legacy as the strongest Batman that has ever been, and I will bring the light back to this dark city because I know what will happen in my future, and I will stop most of it from happening. Over the years I mastered Drish Shastra, the ancient form of martial arts only a rare few have ever mastered in the DC universe, and after I mastered this legendary fighting style, no martial arts masters could defeat me anymore, and it turned my body into a lethal weapon of precision and control. Not only am I skilled and powerful now, but I had now mastered my powers to such a degree that my ki blasts could now look like thin invisible threads, and I could even form ki blades that look exactly like golden divine swords. And then I mastered all martial arts with my super brain. It was easier, much easier, which is why I was able to master the Drish Shastra martial arts. Mastering martial arts taught me precision and control that Saitama never had, and since I had all the skills and experience of Goku, I am unstoppable, and I even have all his powers and his fighting style, which means I also have his Turtle School martial arts, which is even more superior than Drish Shastra. I believe it might be anyway, considering that ki energy strengthens the body a billion-fold, which means not only am I powerful but I possess the power of the gods.